Hi guys, it's Tammy here, and I'm just going to get a few things ready while you're coming in. I know I'm just popping in as I always do. Yesterday, if you're with me, I tried to do a go live announced version, and I was struggling to figure out how to actually make it go live. I think I was there too late. I haven't quite figured it out yet, so I didn't announce today. Instead, I'm just coming in hot because we are talking about. Of course, I'm being completely transparent with you, and you feel like this is what you're getting. So I want to talk about toxic workplace behavior, signs of a toxic workplace behavior. This is number 11. Actually, in sign language, it's 11. I think that's 11. I might be wrong. Could be completely wrong. It's been a while. I'm just going to open up my document here. As always, if you are in the Conquer Conflict group, you'll see that you'll be able to download this document. It has more resources in there than I'm able to discuss. Well, I mean, I suppose I could discuss it all here, but it would take longer, and I like to value your time as well. And for some reason, oh, there we go. The document is just opening up. So we're talking about the lack of transparency, but before we kind of talk about the lack of it, I think we should just talk about what transparency kind of is. You know, we often think of this as being open and honest communication. And I want to challenge you. Actually, first let me put up my question mark, my question to you all, my poll. Is it possible to always be transparent? Again, a simple yes and no. Excuse me there. So coming back to what transparency is, we tend to think of this as being open, honest communication. And when we think of open and honest communication in its idealistic form, we don't think of hidden information. We don't think of withholding stuff. But when you think about it, we do this all the time, like even at its most fundamental, like even parenting, maybe not fundamental, let's just go into parenting. It's almost Easter. And how many of you are going to tell your kids that the Easter Bunny exists? And how many of you are going to go to these great extents and put all this stuff together to make them believe the Easter Bunny exists, right? So we are not fully honest. Instead, we are fulfilling a dream. We are providing hope. We are giving imagery, life. And so transparency can be a little difficult sometimes in the workplace as well. Now, if you're just joining in with me, make sure you send me a little comment. Let me know where you're watching from. I should get used to putting you guys on my phone as well, because I don't think I can see everything online that you see on the phone. So let me just get there. Give me un momento, s'il vous plaît, so I can watch it live on my phone. How weird is that to watch it live on my phone at the same time as I'm talking to you? With the delay, ironically, there is a delay. So there's on my phone as well, because I don't think I can see. There, I just took the volume off. Okay. I think I'll be able to see your comments there better. All right. 3 minutes in, and I'm just getting to it now. Transparency. Open, honest communication is not always possible. In the workplace, what this means more so is that we can have an inclusive conversation. So when there's a situation that arises or a task that needs to be done, instead of coming in and telling me this needs to be done, get to it, goodbye, there's a little bit more dialogue around that as to giving people reasons as to why that is an important task, giving them timelines and all the tools that they need to be successful in that task, and making sure that any questions they have are answered. So if we don't make room for that conversation, you walk away after telling them what you need to have done, and they sit there going, wow, that was rude. I have no idea why I need to do this, when I need to do this, how I'm supposed to get this done. There's no consideration for what I have going on already on my desk. And so people start to think that there's a lack of transparency when those things are happening. Excuse me. So the inclusive conversation is a part of transparency. Things that you can do in the workplace that demonstrate transparency is that if you see an issue, you give feedback right away. One of the things I hear a lot about is when people go in for a performance review at the end of the year, and they are like blindsided with this onslaught of things that they have done wrong, said wrong, and they have no idea that for like 6 months that their boss or colleague has been unhappy with them. That is totally not transparent, and that is one of the biggest issues I hear about in a workplace. And then the second thing that goes along with that is that when people do have these blind sides, something is brought to their attention months down the road, so that they don't get clear expectations on how to reestablish that relationship or focus their attention on that goal. So maybe they have, I'm trying to think, I've had a lot of examples and I don't want to give too much detail away. Say someone has been given a performance evaluation because they felt that they weren't being very collegial with their colleague. They were talking in ways that were demeaning. But on their paperwork, in order for them to get the respect back, the activities that they have to do have nothing to do with communication. Instead, they're told to go and sign up for a basket weaving class. Now, that's a dramatic example, but it is true. I see it so many times where the outcome does not match the path to get there. And so then somebody doesn't know when they're actually done. A lot of benefits to being a transparent. So I'll come back to the benefits in a second. Let me just talk to you about how if you work in a workplace that is currently not transparent, you're feeling like you're just not getting enough information to be safe in your job, to be productive in your job, to be actually feeling like you are producing quality content because you just don't know where you're going with the information. So here's some things you can do if you're in a place like that. One is to share your thought process and the details around your decision making, right? So if someone comes to you or you are the person who's bringing that content to another person, be sure that there's opportunity to dive into that. Do you have everything you need to know? Do you have any questions? Can I ask a few questions? Can I share with you my concerns? Creating a safe environment for that dialogue. So inviting that conversation. When somebody comes to me, and I'll tell you, lots of people come to me for advice. Some people come to me because they don't like what I'm doing. And what I love about the ones who come to me when they are not happy with me is that they feel safe enough to share that with me. And so I have made it my practice for many years now to thank the person who brings their disconnect or their discord to me and allow me an opportunity to engage in a conversation with them. That has probably been one of the best ways to de-escalate something, is to just simply say, well, thank you for sharing that with me and for feeling safe enough to do that. Now, I want to put some boundaries around this. Now, can we sit down and discuss this in a calm manner? Like, I really want to know if we're ready to have that conversation, because that's my boundary around it. Austin, you came to me all heated. Fine, I'm going to hear what you have to say. I maybe not appreciate the tone or the presentation, but I thank you for coming. And let's put some boundaries around how this conversation is going to go in the future. And let's sit down and discuss this calmly. I really want to hear what you have to say. It's a great rebuild for transparency. I'll give you one more thing that you can do, and that's just to make yourself available. So whether you're the employee, I'll tell you from an employer's perspective, when an employee is not transparent, when they're not at their desk, when they don't share where they're going, when they don't share their reasons for being absent at work. Now, there are some confidential things you do not share. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is that rogue employee that just doesn't care anymore and they're gone. You don't know where they are. They might tell you that they're at the library or that they've gone for a meeting, but there's no connection to their job duties as to why they would be there. There can be a lack of transparency on both sides. So making yourself available for conversations, both the manager and the employee. As a manager, it's difficult to have an open door policy all the time. It's very inconclusive. No, struggling with my words today. It's not conducive for getting work done. We all have our own workload to accomplish. But you can establish hours. Maybe it's 11 to 12 is open door policy. And if nobody's coming to you in those hours, don't just start working on your stuff. Get up and walk around and have conversations. Talk about their projects. Take 5 minutes and get to know who they are as a person. Ask them what's going on in their personal lives, what their hobbies are, what the kids are up to. Build those relationships, because that's where the trust comes into. And then when there are moments where maybe you can't share everything, you're given a little bit more grace. I tell you what, when you build trust and you have a relationship where people value you, you are given a lot of grace. So what does it look like when you're in a place that doesn't have transparency? Maybe you've just walked into a job place. You're all excited, brand new there. You had no idea there were problems. And you hear your coworker beside you go, oh, fuck, nobody ever tells me anything around this place. Someone's feeling like they're missing some critical information to do a good job. Or you'll go, oh my God, why is the boss walking around today? Like, do they not trust us? Do they think we're going to be like running loose and not doing any work? That's a problem with transparency and trust. Or, you might be at a staff meeting and something is being shared and your colleague leans over and says, don't trust anything they say. Okay, we've got some issues here. So these are some signs that you might be working in a place where there's a lack of transparency and people are not feeling like they're getting enough inclusion, enough information to do their job. If you end up coming to work and you're told to do one thing, but there's no supplies there for you to do it, and now you have to redirect it, it's a little bit of a frustrating thing. So in order to stop that, just consider, what would I need to know to do this job? What tools would I need to have to be successful? What are my timelines and my checkpoints to make sure I'm on track? And have those conversations and check in. Make sure you're always following up and checking in to see if there's any hurdles, any barriers, any supports that maybe they need that we didn't anticipate. Okay? That is transparency in the workplace. There's a lot of people who feel like it doesn't exist. I've certainly been in those situations. And I say situations because for me, it wasn't always the workplace. It was a particular person that I was feeling a lack of transparency with, and the struggles to get the information I needed to do the job. Now, I will caution you, transparency does not mean divulge everything. So we do need to say what transparency is not. Because if you give too much information to the wrong people at the wrong time, it can paralyze efforts and actually stifle progress. For example, let's even look at today's environment with COVID running around. Today is, so just in case we're watching this in the future, today is March 19th, 2020. And we currently have a pandemic of COVID that is locked down the entire world. With that, there will be many people who do not need to know all the ins and outs of the response plan. They just need to know what their role is. I lost my track there for a moment. What was I just referencing? This happens sometimes. I'm so passionate about COVID and people following the processes to reduce this pandemic that I've lost my train of thought. If anybody's listening can tell me what my point was, that'd be great. If not, we'll just watch this back and have a good laugh at it in the future. What it is not, that's where I was. What transparency is not. We have a lot of organizations that are closing their doors. Potentially, this COVID will bankrupt people. Does your frontline worker need to know that an organization is on the brink of bankruptcy? If you were to share that, consider the buy-in of that frontline worker from doing the job necessary that you need them to do to keep afloat. They may take the attitude like, why bother? We're going to close anyways. And then they don't do the cleaning that they need to do, or they don't do the billing that they need to do, or they don't charge people like they're supposed to. They're giving discounts like crazy because they don't buy into the process. So you can give too much information and create bigger problems. So it's just what's important for that person to know at that time. So it has to be for the right person, for the right reason, at the right time. If you are in middle management, you will certainly suffer from this dilemma of how much do I share, how much do I not share? Like, this is important to me, but the boss told me not to share it, so I can't tell them anything. And you might have some ethical and moral dilemmas. If you have any questions, ask your supervisor, what of this can I share? And if you feel still like there's some uneasiness, then ask your questions, share your perspective, let them know how you think this might impact workers, because the more information we have, the better the decision we can make going forward. So with that, I see there are 0 comments, which is pretty normal. That's okay. And there are no questions here on the Facebook, so I'm going to sign off then. If you do have any questions about transparency, you can always put them on this video after. I do watch for that and I will respond. You can also join the Conquer Conflict group, where you can get the download here that has a little bit more information and have some conversations with people who are also looking for tools to reduce the risk of conflict and the impact of conflict so you can live a more peaceful and connected lifestyle. So until next time, Make it a great day, guys.